I know. You'd be forgiven for thinking that the Bahrain race was just another race in 2023, given how far Max Verstappen finished ahead of everyone else. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. There are some factors at play here. There is potential for the races going forward. I hope. In the end, Max was so much faster than the rest of the field. It was worrying. Max was 7/10 to a second faster than everyone, including his teammate Sergio Perez in the same car. Perez wasn't able to get anywhere near Max's lap times, not even close. Max was 2 seconds faster on the soft tyre. Later in the race, he was going for fastest lap. But even on the hards, he was 7/10, a second quicker than Perez. And that bothered me, actually. For Red Bull, they'll be quite happy that Perez is there in second place. They want Max to win, probably anyway. He's their best chance at a championship. But for me, it's kind of frustrating that Perez was so far off Max. That's just a testament to how good Max is. After getting away at the start, he simply drove away into the sunset. Red Bull will be happy, like I say, that Perez is there in second place because it's something he wasn't doing last year. So if he can keep that up, they'll probably be happy. Sainz, well, he made his way past a few cars early on, including some nice moves on his teammate Charles Leclerc, which he had to do twice. Charles, on the other hand, though, had issues all race that really hampered him. It hampered his pace massively. We kept seeing him locking up, especially going into turn 10, locking up. He gave away a place to Russell. Then he got taken by Sainz as well. And it turns out that he had a pretty severe braking issue where one side of the car was getting over 100 degrees difference in terms of brake temperature. And so the car was actually pulling to one side when he was braking. It was making it very difficult for him to manage. He was struggling, and while it did get better, he was never completely confident in the car the entire race. He ended up in P4, getting ahead of Russell, just simply because Russell had a worse issue towards the end. Sainz actually only finished 2.5 seconds off Perez, so Perez was there for the taking. Max, though, he's in another league. Mercedes, well, they were very disappointed with their result. Russell ended up in P4 from his starting position of P3, so he did lose a position, but Hamilton, on the other hand, only made up 2 positions. He started in 9th. He made his way to 7th. It was obvious from fairly early on, due to radio messages, that Mercedes were struggling. They were dealing with some serious engine issues. And this was confirmed after the race. Essentially, they went too aggressive on their cooling. You'll notice on all of the cars there are cooling louvers on the engine, and these can vary in terms of the amount they put on, depending on the cooling requirements. There is a detriment to this, an aero detriment. The more you put on, the more cooling you have, then you will potentially lose performance. The problem is, from the start of the race, they were having issues where their engine was overheating. This was causing them to lift and coast at the end of the straights. What this is, it means that as you're getting to the end of the straight, even before the braking, you lift off the throttle, you coast in before you get on the brakes. This can save tyres, engines, fuel, all sorts. But of course, you're going to lose time when you're doing it. Toto claimed that Mercedes were losing half a second of pace because of their issues. Now, if that was true, it would have meant that they could potentially have finished ahead of Ferrari. I'm not sure if I buy that, but that's what he said. The big issue here is, how did they get their cooling so wrong? We had 3 practice sessions, so 3 hours of practice in both cars. We then had 3 full days of pre-season testing only a week before at the same circuit. Not to mention, Bahrain, it was actually very cool compared to when we normally come here. It was only about 18 degrees ambient temperature. So how on earth have they got their calculations for their cooling so wrong? Russell said by changing the cooling and giving them more cooling, they would have given away maybe 1/4 of a tenth. But they were losing 4 to 5 because of the lifting and coasting. A huge blunder for Mercedes. I'm really interested to see how they get on in Saudi Arabia, mainly because Saudi Arabia could be hotter. Is this going to be a persistent problem for them now going forward? I hope not. So we'll see how they fare in the next race. I was a little bit disappointed in McLaren, though. Norris, well, he finished P6, Piastri P8, sandwiching Lewis Hamilton, but neither really had a particularly interesting race. They were just a little bit behind the Ferraris and Russell in no man's land, really. I will say that Bahrain's never a circuit that has suited McLaren, so I don't think they were expecting to do that well at Bahrain. And last year, their strengths were in the faster circuits, medium speed, high speed corners. So I think they'll maybe hoping for a better result at Jeddah next week. The biggest disappointment for me, though, was Aston Martin. I really thought they were going to be up there challenging Mercedes. I really thought they were going to be up there challenging Ferrari, but that wasn't the case at all. Alonso finished 20 seconds behind Piastri in P9. His teammate Stroll finished right behind him in P10. I think the team flattered to deceive a little bit in qualifying and testing, making a lot of people think they were hiding pace and they were going to be very, very fast. But it actually looks like they're quite a way off McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari, which is kind of surprising to me. Speaking of being off the pace, RB. People were bigging up RB because they've taken so many parts off the Red Bull. The car looked really nice, looked aggressive. Ricciardo and Tsunoda finished in P13, P14, with Tsunoda very unhappy about the team asking him to move over for Ricciardo, who was on the soft tyres towards the end of the race. We didn't see it on the broadcast, but he showed some real immaturity as well. He dive-bombed Daniel after the race on the cool-down lap, locked his brakes, almost hit him. He was very, very annoyed, and he showed some real immaturity there, which sadly is something he is known for. This race showed me a few things. First of all, the Red Bull in the hands of Max is too far away, I think, at the minute. I think it's the fastest car by a long way. But that doesn't mean it'll be the case for all tracks. Let's not get too disheartened too early. We need to see how they get on at other circuits, and we need to see it when all the other teams aren't having issues like they were at Bahrain to get a real understanding of where this is. Ferrari do seem to be the second fastest team so far. I think so, with Mercedes and McLaren close by. If Mercedes can fix some of these issues, maybe they'll be a lot closer to Ferrari. Maybe they'll be ahead of them. If they were losing half a second a lap to cooling, then I definitely think they can challenge Ferrari at some tracks. Again, at the faster circuits, we've got Jeddah coming up. McLaren also could be in the mix. It does feel a little bit like 2023 version 2 at the minute. A long winter, huge changes to all the cars, but really, nothing has changed in the order. I hope all the other teams catch up quick. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.